My name is Sabrina. I am half Afghan and half French. And I grew up in Afghanistan and then in France. And before coming to America, where I married with an Afghan, I grew up speaking two languages, French and Farsi, which we call Dari, often in Afghanistan. And I also lived in other countries. My story, in fact, starts in a period of Afghanistan, which is a little bit, we could call the golden ages of Afghanistan. And I always think of it like the story between two parentheses. I always think back of Afghanistan as a country where I've been very happy, where I've experienced really something that is very difficult to share, even with my own kids and my friends. My parents decided very fast to leave in a couple of months after the coup. One of the reasons for that was that we could because we were French. So my father didn't leave, he couldn't leave, but we had French passports. So for us, it was easier to leave right away because not many people could do that. And I don't think it was with this idea that this is forever. I think my father thought, okay, let them go abroad for it will calm down. I think everybody was in a delusion that it cannot stay like that. We left from Kabul, we drove to Pakistan, and then from Pakistan, we took a flight to Paris. My childhood in Afghanistan is very happy. The adjective that would describe it the most, maybe accurately, is careless. Careless in a positive sense, like you don't really worry about anything. Yeah, you wake up and you just live your life and you have friends and you go to school. And this kind of lightness of the heart, which I find you lose when you are uprooted. But I find that this lightness of the heart is not, it's not just when you're in exile and you have to leave. It's also sometimes when you leave willingly, like I did when I left France for America just because I married. But you leave behind a part of yourself. You can never take everything. So as soon as you experience that loss, I think that lightness goes away. So there were a discussion at home, and there was this feeling in me that my father was in danger, maybe. Also, and there was this feeling of danger at school because my parents would always say, you don't say anything at school, you don't talk to anyone, you don't. And so what I remember is more the secrecy of not being able to tell your best friend, your own cousins, that kind of planning that went on for a couple of weeks. And I think that's what I register more, that is the guilt of doing something, of betraying a little bit by leaving. The fact that my father was staying, I because it didn't feel permanent at that time, it's something that I have kind of blanked on. I don't see him in the picture. It's really strange. It bothers me because I see my dog, I see my house, I see the two people who worked, the gardener and my nanny, basically, who are just looking, and I don't see him. I think that I just didn't want to accept, maybe, that he was not coming. So I was with my daughter skiing I was in Tahoe. She wanted to learn how to ski, and so we were in this little thing that takes you up, and a family came with us, and this teenager, because when I speak I have French accent, so when I told them, yes, of course, sit here, they said, are you French? And it was a big smile, are you French? And I said, yes, but I'm also from Afghanistan. And I don't know why, usually I don't say that, but there was something in me that I felt, my daughter is here, and I want to reclaim, these two identities. And the boy looked at me and she said, I hate Afghanistan. And I was so taken by that. The parents were a little bit embarrassed. And I was so taken by why. I said, Afghanistan now is at war. And I think the thing that you see, I can understand that they are shocking. But my Afghanistan, when I was your age, was a country very beautiful, very peaceful, full of sceneries like here and more beautiful. And I hope that one day you will understand that this is not just one thing. You don't hate Afghanistan, you hate war. I deeply want them to look beyond borders, beyond identity, to look what's common to all human beings. I think this is what I want to communicate to my children, like a deeper meaning of being a person today in this world, what it is, and always to be curious of others and fight against isolation, because I find their generation with the social medias, and they will say, Mom, you're going after social media again. But it's very isolating and it's very reducing and manipulative. And so I find that I want them to know that what the real thing that you learn from humans, not from machines or screens. I find that that's the hope. You see everywhere there are people who care, who want to understand, who want to convey another message, who want to open doors. And I find that makes me very hopeful.